Hello guys, welcome back to another review video of another person's content. So in this video, we're just simply having a look at a video. We're going to watch this together and we're just going to dissect it from the perspective of someone who helps people lose weight for a living. Now, everyone has their own preferences and opinions. We try to keep all this based in science where possible. So I'll give you my recommendations in terms of what I think is accurate in this video. So 10 simple tips to increase your metabolism after the age of 40. Sounds interesting. I think the video's got something like 1 million views or something, which is pretty cool. So let's have a look.
Hey there, my friend. It's Dr. Anthony Balduzzi, founder here at the Fit Father Project and the Fit Mother Project. And one of the biggest questions that men and women ask me is, Dr. A, I'm in my 40s, 50s, and 60s. I feel like my metabolism is slowed down. What can I do to boost my metabolism?
Now, when I have consultations with clients, this is actually something that comes up a lot. People will ask me, or they'll mention that I've been eating low calories for a long time, or I'm after beyond a certain age now, and I feel like my metabolism has crash burned and died, and I just can't lose the weight no matter what I do. Just so you know, everybody can lose weight. And I promise you, your metabolism hasn't crash burned and died.
What are some of the research-backed ways to lose weight, to boost my metabolism, and just to feel better? And I wanted to shoot this video, and quite frankly, I think it was overdue, because there are some simple things you can do every single day to have a faster metabolic rate, which is going to help you lose more fat, lose more weight, and keep it off. Let's dive into today's video.
Now, one thing before we go into this video in full, and I'll just talk about this very quickly, is the fact that you technically don't want a fast metabolism. If you've watched my previous videos, I talk about a larger metabolism and a smaller metabolism. So a good way you can start to think about your metabolism in general is a bigger body requires more chemical processes to happen to keep you alive. So therefore you have a larger metabolism, whereas someone who's just smaller, you just require less. And having a higher metabolism or a fast metabolism is usually indicative of a unhealthy metabolic state, meaning things like cancer, right? So if you have a really high metabolism to the point where cells are just going out of control, that's technically what cancer is, right? It's pretty crazy that we're trying to chase after these extremes. But we can definitely make an improvement in terms of our overall energy burn. So just think about that going into the video. Cancer logo.
All right, so let's kick off number one of the research-proven ways to increase your metabolism. This one's that a lot of people know, but I think it's so foundational we have to start with it first, and that is to eat more protein.
Yes, I agree. Most people should be eating more protein and you should be tracking your protein.
What the research shows is that when you have protein every single meal, and it makes up around 30% of your total daily calories, you get a great metabolic boost from that. And the reason is when you eat food, the food has calories. And protein is pretty unique, is that your body actually has to burn and use calories to metabolize the protein. In fact, your body uses and burns up to 30% of the calories that you eat in protein. So let's say you have 200 calories from a chicken breast, 30% of those calories are actually just burned up in the process of breaking down and metabolizing that protein. And this is a very good thing because you can eat food, your body's burning calories. And in addition, not just to the calorie lift, which is called the thermic effect of food.
So this whole calorie lift is a marketing term. Just like people like to throw around metabolism as a marketing term. So just be mindful of words people like to choose.
Which is called the thermic effect of food. Your protein actually also keeps you full. So you get a double whammy effect. You eat protein, your body burns more calories, and you stay full longer, meaning you're going to eat less food. So this is why in many of our meals we recommend at the Fit Father Project and Fit Mother Project, we love this idea of the perfect plate. You fill half of your plate with some kind of veggies you love, a quarter of your plate with some kind of great protein, and fill the other quarter of your plate with either some healthy carbs or healthy fats, depending on your preference. You do this, your meals are going to be around 500-600 calories. They'll keep you full, and you're obviously going to be burning calories because you're having protein and veggies in that meal.
So I do agree with most of what he is saying. So yes, a higher protein diet technically is going to burn more calories from eating that food. So you do burn about 30% of your total calories ingested from protein. Now, where this kind of falls apart is even if you're burning the extra 30%, so people start to see that as like, if I just eat pretty much all protein, I'm going to go carnivore. People take it to the extremes. We don't want you to do that, right? We want you to be a healthy, balanced approach to weight loss. Now, there's only so much protein you can really get away with in a day before you just like, I can't eat any more chicken breast. It has to be somewhat realistic. Now, at the end of the day, whether you get all of your protein in one meal, and we're not bodybuilders, by the way, but whether you get all of your protein in one meal or if you spread that evenly throughout the day, technically it makes no difference. But most people are going to have some sort of structured meal pattern. So 1 time a day, 3 times a day, 5 times a day. It is generally best practice to probably distribute your protein somewhat equally throughout the day. But just know at the end of the day, it really doesn't make any difference on how you get your total protein, as long as you get it in by the end of the day. My general recommendations, instead of looking at the plates in terms of like try and aim for 25% of this, 25% of that, a really good way to work out your protein is whatever your target body weight is, whatever your goal weight loss target is. Let's say you want to get down to 60 kilos, you should probably aim for somewhere between 1.6 to 2.2 grams times 60 kilos. All right. So for most women, it's roughly about 100 grams a day-ish. And then usually for most men, it's somewhere around 150 grams a day. As long as you're pretty close to those targets, you don't have to worry too much about it.
So number 1, eat more protein. Number 2 is to actually drink more water, particularly if you want to actually really amplify your calorie burn, cold water. Because let's think about this. Number 1, the body is around 70% water. We need it for high functioning. And I've been interviewing people inside our Fit Father and Fit Mother Project programs who've been incredibly successful over on our Fit Father podcast. And what we found is one of the biggest changes people make is they start drinking water first thing in the morning. It absolutely energizes the body. It's one of the things your body needs first in the morning is some water. We recommended 20 to 30 ounces at least in the morning. You can add some salt for some trace minerals. Very, very good. Now, if you actually have cold water, you get an additional metabolic boost, because our bodies are always trying to regulate core temperature. And when you introduce something cold, the body has to use calories and energy to heat that up. So that's great. And there's actually a research study showing that they actually gave young children 10 milligrams per kg of body weight of cold water, and they found a 25% increase in their resting metabolism 40 minutes after consuming the cold water. So if you're someone who loves cold water, it can be great. Now there's also
Now, usually when people put out studies like this, they're usually cherry picking. All right, so here is the study here. We'll just very quickly go to the conclusion, or basically the results. So they drank water, cold water, by the way, in case you didn't know that. So the study demonstrated an increase of up to 25% in resting energy expenditure following drinking 10 mils per kilogram, -1 degree of cold water in overweight children, lasting for over 40 minutes. Consumption recommended daily of water in children could result in energy expenditure equivalent of additional weight loss of about 1.2 kilos per year. Per year. Now, I don't know about you, but if I'm not thirsty and I don't particularly like drinking extra cold water, if anything, I find it just makes me go to the toilet a lot more, which is more of a pain than the benefits of losing an extra kilo per year. What's going to really help you lose that extra kilo per year is taking down your calories. And if you really average this out, if you're doing this up to 3 times per day, hypothetically, I think overall the total extra calorie burn, it may sound fancy at 25% of your total calories burnt. It actually works out to be like less than 20 calories per day. It's like something like 15 calories per day. So when people start throwing around numbers like this, like drink more water, which I'm not against drinking more water if you feel like you could benefit from drinking some more water, you don't get these crazy, insane boosts like these studies are claiming, right? Or at least how people interpret these studies.
Arguments for having room temperature water, because it's easier for your body to access. You don't have to spend some energy heating up the water. But it depends on what your goals are. If your goals are losing weight, cold water could help you. But remember, this is a transient increase only for about 40 minutes after having cold water. But hey, maybe you start kicking off your day with some cold water in the morning. That might help increase your metabolic rate. That's what the research suggests.
If anything, I find it would be just more of a routine-based hack. So basically you drink your water and it helps you stay on track, because when I get up, I have my water, I have my coffee, and it keeps you in a routine. But let's have a look and see what else he says.
Next thing, and a lot of people know this, is to start doing high intensity workouts. So this is different than, let's just say, steady state cardio.
Now, I haven't listened to this, but I just assume he's going to talk about EPOC, which is post-exercise oxygen consumption. It's been a long time since I've had to say that word. You burn more calories after a high intensity training session. Let's just see what happens. I don't know. I'm just guessing.
where you might see people at the gym walking on the treadmill or doing the bike at a low, easy pace for 45 minutes. That exercise is good. It's great for your heart. You do burn some calories. But if you start doing high intensity exercise, where you have bursts of effort, intermittent with some rest, so let's just say you can be doing sprints on the treadmill and then you rest for like a minute and a half at a lower pace and you do another sprint. That's one way to do it. Our preferred method inside our Fit Father and Fit Mother programs is doing a type of exercise called metabolic resistance training, MRT. And this is basically where we take some of the best strength training exercises, things like squats, shoulder press, rows, chest press, swings, and we combine them into a circuit. So you're doing exercises, then you're resting. Exercise, rest. And this is great because it gives you a high intensity calorie burn, plus you're going to get some stimulation to your muscles because you're lifting weights. It's probably the most efficient way for people to exercise. So we absolutely love that. If you want help getting an MRT workout, they're all over our Fit Father and Fit Mother Project channels. But what I really suggest is you scroll below in the description and you either get our free.
So shameless plug, good on him, but he has to make a living, obviously, right? Just like I do. Now, when we're talking about resistance training, we know for a fact that when you cut your rest time short, you are going to sacrifice strength gains. And really, at the end of the day, the two most important things when it comes to fat loss and building muscle is going to be, number one, your calorie deficit and how well you're progressing in your strength and your lifts. So the only time a circuit training session is going to be better than a standard resistance training program, such as like a leg press, have a 2-minute rest, do a leg press, have a 2-minute rest, do a leg press, is going to be if you are short on time. That is it. That is the only reason you should be doing a high intensity circuit style training session. Arguably, it's going to be worse for your muscle gaining efforts because it's not going to allow you to progressively overload for the long term because you're going to be limited by your cardiovascular output, basically how fast you can catch your breath and recover.
Fit Mom Jumpstart. If you're a woman in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, we'll give you our MRT workout plus our meal plan. And for guys, we have our free 1-day meal plan and our free 24-minute workout, which is killer. 24 minutes, you can get a great metabolism boost. The key thing is to stop thinking about exercise as burning calories. Like how many calories did I burn during exercise? The key thing is to start thinking about exercise as a metabolic investment. If you sprinkle in these high intensity exercises 3 times per week, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you can get a metabolic boost up to 24 hours after a single session. So you're investing in your metabolism, you're pulsing smart exercise. High intensity exercise, absolutely key. And this leads me to number 4, is if you want to boost your metabolism, start lifting heavy things to build muscle. Because
he should have just started with this and left it at this, but I digress. Let's continue.
Muscle is very energetically expensive. If you look at a gigantic bodybuilder, let's just say the guy's 250 pounds of pure muscle, that guy may need to eat 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day just to maintain weight. That's how energetically expensive muscle tissue is. And what's really cool is the more muscle you actually put on, the easier it is to keep the weight off. This is why we're huge proponents of combining the strength training and the cardio in those MRT workouts, because you get a muscle building benefit and the high intensity benefit all in one. But classical strength training, like you're doing a set, let's just say the set takes 30 seconds, you maybe do 8 to 12 reps of something, then you rest. As long as you're getting stronger, working on building muscle, fantastic for your metabolism, especially if you are on a diet. Because what they show is when you're actually eating a high protein diet and you're lifting heavy things as you're trying to lose weight, you maintain more muscle. So you're not just losing fat and losing muscle, you're losing fat and maintaining muscle, so lift heavy things.
Arguably, you can also gain muscle in a deficit depending on how much body fat you carry, depending on how new you are to training, depends on how lined up all your ducks are in a row. If you get everything really meticulous, like your protein, fat, steps, cardio, weight training, etc. But you should expect a recomp on a properly designed training program and a well-balanced diet, provided you're not going super, super aggressive with a deficit.
Next on our list is to get great sleep.
Agree 100%. 7 to 9 hours sleep every night, the more the better.
This is absolutely one of the most overlooked aspects of health and longevity in general. Our bodies need sleep. And here's what happens. When we miss sleep, a couple of metabolic changes happen in the body that's absolutely damaging. Number 1, your body becomes insulin resistant. And insulin is this super important hormone that once we eat carbohydrates or some proteins, we have an organ called the pancreas that releases insulin. Insulin helps clear out that blood sugar and some of those amino acids from the bloodstream and gets them into the cells, into the muscles, into the metabolically active tissues. So insulin is vital for life, But the problem is, if we're insulin resistant, insulin floats around for a long time and prevents fat burning. So when you miss sleep, you're insulin resistant. Your blood sugars are higher, and it actually makes you hungrier by increasing this hunger hormone called ghrelin, and actually decreases a hormone called leptin that increases your metabolic rate and keeps you full.
Correct. So pretty much everything he says is correct so far. I agree with everything during the sleep portion. So anytime I have a client who is complaining of hunger, cravings, feeling more miserable than normal, when you're on a low-calorie diet, feeling somewhat miserable is somewhat normal. It's most likely due to sleep, lack of sleep consistency and or sleep quality. So usually that will be always the first thing I'll ask if someone's performance is dropped or if they're not sticking to their calories or if they're craving certain things. Part of my check-in process with clients is, how are you feeling? How is your sleep? How is everything going? But they just randomly message me throughout the week saying, oh, I'm just feeling pretty average this week. How's your sleep been for the last 2 to 4 nights? I actually know what, the baby's had me up 4 times in the last 3 days. That's probably why you're feeling pretty crappy. So accept it for what it is. Try and get back to regular sleeping routine ASAP. And then you'll most likely, all of those cravings, all of that crappy feeling that you get from lack of sleep will go away. It's probably just more pronounced, and you'll just notice it more because you're paying attention to so many more things. Like, I'm paying attention to my nutrition, my training, my performance, how hungry am I because I'm watching my food so much. If you weren't doing all of this, you wouldn't even think about it in the back of your mind, right? Now let's see what else he says.
So when you miss sleep, your metabolism's all jacked up, you're more hungry, and you're less full. That is a recipe for disaster. So the converse, when we get great sleep, your metabolism functions so much better. And this is why in our programs, our Fit Father and Fit Mother programs, one of the first things we help people do is fix their sleep. When you get quality sleep, your metabolism functions better. You're going to do a lot better with your weight loss and your overall health goals. Next on our list is to drink green tea. Green tea is a uniquely good drink when it comes to losing weight and losing fat. Green tea has a little bit of caffeine, and research shows that some green tea and oolong tea can increase your metabolic rate by 4 to 5%. And that's okay. That's a nice little benefit, and it's probably driven mostly by the caffeine. But what I actually think is super cool is some of the special compounds in green tea. These catechins, like EGCG, actually increase fat burning. So they actually help release fat from your cells so your body can burn those fats up and use it for the daily activity that you're doing so you can actually lose more fat. Green tea helps fat burning, gives you a slight boost in your metabolism. But if you really want to rev up your metabolism...
This is again where I sort of have a bit of a problem with, depending on the data that he might be referencing, but a 4 to 5% in your boost in metabolism is so insignificant, it's almost not even worth mentioning. Now, possibly, yes, it may allow you to burn more fat and help your body release fat from the fat cells, but so does a ketogenic diet. A ketogenic diet arguably puts you into fat burning mode because you have no carbohydrates. So the only thing for your body to burn is ketones and fat, right? So arguably you are in fat burning mode. The same thing could be said for fasting. When you're completely devoid of food, you've eaten nothing at all for 24 hours, you are 100% using fat for a fuel source because your body has to burn something, right? So when people start to say these kinds of things, you have to just think critically about it. And that just comes with practice. And obviously I've been doing this for a long time, but I'm here to try and be the voice of reason for you.
Then coffee is your friend. So this is next on the list. Drink coffee if you want to have a higher metabolic rate. In fact, they show that caffeine in coffee can boost your metabolism by up to 11%. That's a high number.
Let's have a look, see if we can find this study, see what happens. So I think this is the study. So I just talk about in the first trial, there was 8 milligrams of caffeine compared to the placebo in normal weight subjects. Metabolic rate was increased significantly during the 3 hours after the caffeine ingestion, most likely because you're buzzing and you're probably just up and about doing more activity, right? But you have to take into account what this actually means in real world results. So if you were to drink somewhere around, I think it's 100 milligrams, let me just double check. Yeah, it's about 100 milligrams of caffeine. You burn potentially up to a maximum of like an extra 20 calories. If you're having, 400 milligrams of caffeine, I think the study showed that you might be able to burn an extra maybe 100 calories, but you have to drink 4 cups of coffee. And for some people, just the downsides of drinking so much coffee is absolutely not worth the extra 100 calorie burn. You know what is much easier? Eating 100 calories less. And then 100% guaranteed you will be 100 calories further in your deficit. So context always matters.
So let's just say you burn on average around 2,000 to 2,500 calories per day. That could be an extra 200 calories. And if we stack that up over the course of a year, that can be very great.
But mind you, you probably have to drink about maybe 4 or 5 cups of coffee. It's a lot of caffeine.
What I found was very interesting from the research is that actually this metabolic boosting effect of coffee works better in lean people than people who are overweight. The lean people got a 29% increase in fat burning, I should say in your metabolic rate, but only 10% for obese women. This is fat burning. I want to make sure I read this. In one study, coffee increased fat burning by 29% for lean women, but only 10% for obese women. So it seems to have a good effect. But I think if you're looking to lose weight and coffee is a part of your life, then I recommend you do continue with that. Just don't throw the crap in your coffee. So instead of throwing a lot of sugars and a lot of creamers and stuff like that, maybe you try something like stevia. Maybe you do a splash of some almond milk. Maybe you put some protein powder. So we have a Fit Father and Fit Mother Superfuel protein. And one of the things our members do is they spike their coffee with a little bit of protein. Absolutely phenomenal. Tastes great. You get the benefit of a high protein diet. Plus you get the benefit of the caffeine increasing your metabolic rate inside the coffee. So that's great. Drink coffee.
Just so you know, you can use any protein powder and any caffeine you like and mix them together.
Another thing that's helpful is to get some things in your diet called MCTs. These are medium chain triglycerides. Now, without getting too complex into the biochemistry, there are many different kinds of fats we can eat. Triglyceride meaning a type of fat. And there's these special kinds of fats called MCTs. They're not long fats, they're not short fats, they're medium chain triglycerides. What I think is fascinating is these MCTs are actually really concentrated in breast milk. And what we do is as kids, when we get these MCTs, they provide our bodies with a ton of energy, and our body uniquely likes to use MCTs for fat burning. It can help fuel the brain, your body can make ketone bodies from MCTs, a lot of great things happen.
They can also be very high in calories. And children are usually growing, especially a newborn. So they need the highest density calories possible. Enter MCTs. I'm not saying MCTs are bad. But do you need to be eating more fat to lose more fat? Absolutely not. You just need to be in a calorie deficit.
And what the studies actually show is that MCTs increase your metabolism more than long fats. So long fats might be found, let's just say, in some kind of animal meat or butter. MCTs are often derived from coconut oil is one place you can get them.
Which is loaded with calories, by the way.
Or you can get some straight MCT oil. This is why a lot of people who do like their coffee in the morning often throw some MCT oil, maybe like a tablespoon, inside your coffee to get a little extra energy.
Now, for those who've been in the fitness industry for a while, followed a lot of fad diets, you may be a part of the crowd who remembers butter in your coffee. And there was a guy, I can't remember his name, but he was promoting basically putting a stick of butter in your coffee to lose weight. Ridiculous. Absolutely ludicrous.
And in one study, researchers found that MCTs increase metabolism by 12% compared to long chain fats, would increase it by 4%. So MCTs can be good. And this is a lot of the thought process behind people who enjoy bulletproof coffee, where they take...
That's the one, bulletproof coffee.
some high quality coffee, they throw some MCTs, and often a little bit of butter in there. And here's what I'll say about this. If you really want to lose weight and lose fat, calories do matter. And so if you're throwing in a bunch...
Now, we should have started the whole conversation off with this. The very first thing that came out of his mouth should have been, calories matter most, right? We should have been a disclaimer. But being a content creator, you have to get the hook. You have to get someone interested in watching your video for long enough. Let's see how it goes.
Bunch of extra calories. Let's just say 300-400 calories of fat in your coffee. That's not necessarily going to support your weight loss efforts unless that coffee plus the fat is replacing a meal. And maybe you're using it for some intermittent fasting. What I would personally do if I was looking to lose weight is do some black coffee. And if I wanted a little bit of extra stuff, I might throw maybe a tablespoon of MCT oil, maybe a little bit of protein in there. That could be a good recipe. And again,
or just have the black coffee and save yourself the calories on the 1 tablespoon, which is probably like 200 or 300 calories of oil.
If you do check out some of our protein powders like our Fit Father and Fit Mother Superfuel, we give you a shake recipes guide that actually shows you the exact recipe on how to make a protein spike coffee along with other great protein shakes, which can be helpful for your weight loss. Next thing on the list is actually really interesting. It's to fidget more. Fidgeting, like you see the people who are sitting there twitching their leg or they're doing stuff like this. There are some people who genetically are just more prone to fidgeting than others. And this is really amazing because fidgeting burns a lot of calories. You wouldn't think it does, but over the course of a day, fidgeting can burn anywhere from 100 to 800 extra calories. Yeah,
there was actually something that I saw quite a while ago where it was talking about I think it was chewing gum. Don't quote me on this. I'd have to find the research on it, but something along the lines of chewing gum burns more calories than a standing desk. But another way you can also think about this is fidgeting, consciously trying to fidget more is just really something that you can't control. It's either built into you or it's not. And usually a lot of these things, when you go through a fat loss phase and people complain about the metabolism slowing down, a lot of that is subconsciously your body just trying to reduce activity. And a lot of the metabolic rate is just the drop in NEAT, which is non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So basically everything else apart from your purposeful walks and training. And that's just because when you eat less and you force yourself to get a certain amount of steps and you force yourself a certain amount of adaptations from training, the only place you can really take energy from is just your daily movement. So you might just kind of sit here like this more often than you might kind of like sit here talking to someone like this. And it's really hard to try and force yourself to be a fidgety person unless you just naturally like that. So think of someone with like ADHD, for example.
Well, read the study actually. What researchers did is they actually measured the energy expenditure, the amount of calories burned from 16 people while they either sat down, basically not doing anything, they used a standing desk, or they used an under-desk chair where they can move their legs and fidget. And what they found is chairs and devices that promoted fidgeting can increase energy expenditure by 20 to 30% without increasing heart rate. And dynamic sitting may be upon one of the great options to help people move more while at work.
I definitely agree with this. I don't know how fudged these numbers are or how exaggerated they are for how much time the person was using the devices, etc. But if you can set up a standing desk, set up a walking desk, you can burn a ton of calories just literally just by shuffling your feet very slowly throughout the day. So it's always why I recommended an at-home walking treadmill or a walking pad is one of the best investments you'll ever make. Trying to be active where possible and trying to aim for a certain step count where you can, and then just let the rest of your deficit come from your calories in, or your, how many calories you decided to eat.
I think it's really cool. If you can fidget more, you can burn more calories. This is called NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which basically means you're moving, you're burning more calories. The final thing on our list that is really great is to use cold. Cold exposure is your friend if you want a better metabolism. And it's really interesting. As I said in the beginning, when we were
cold exposure, honestly, is one of the worst things for your metabolism. And that is usually because people who live in colder climates or expose themselves to more cold usually have higher food-seeking behaviors. And if you let's just think about this logically. And there's actually a really good book which I'm going to mention in a moment. But when you are cold, so when you eat food, food generates heat, right? So that's energy in the food and you have to digest it. But when you're cold, you will look for more food. It is always easier to diet in summer, provided you're not going out and binge drinking and eating pizzas and like that sort of stuff. But just if you have someone in an ambient high temperature, so just the surrounding temperature, you don't have the aircon on, if they're just in a hot environment, you are much more likely to eat less than you would if you're in a cold environment, okay? Number one, your body wants you to be fatter in winter because it's more insulation and it keeps you warmer. Your body is always seeking warmth. Now, when you put yourself into these cold extreme situations, acutely it may boost your metabolism, but it can also ramp up your hunger tenfold compared to the extra calorie burn that you get from these cold showers or plunges. So if anything, if I had to recommend something, I would recommend go and use a sauna. Try to keep your body temperature higher or warmer. Warm is good. We, by nature, usually seek out warmer environments. And it was very interesting, and this is just a side anecdote. I actually spoke to a consultation once upon a time, many, many years ago. And it was about someone who went to the Antarctic and they did like a trip to the Antarctic. And what they said was, when you come to the Antarctica, just make sure you pack extra large clothes because you are going to gain weight when you are here. And that's because it is so cold, subconsciously your body just starts forcing you to eat more and more food. So technically, yes, you are burning more calories in the cold if you're exposed to the cold, but you'll get more benefits from subjecting yourself to warmer temperatures. And this is just going to be a little side plug. One of the people who I followed for many years of my fitness journey, his name is Brad Pilon, and he actually wrote a book which is called The Book on Heat. Don't take it as absolute. You have to follow everything in that book as concrete information, but he makes a very good argument for using heat as an additional bonus calorie burn, appetite reduction tool than using cold. So I just have a Google, have a look at it, see if you think it might be worth it. Funnily enough, if you're watching this video, I don't know how many weeks or months from now, you'll probably see that there was a big, huge spike in cold plunges a while back. And now everything is starting to be more pushed towards heat. So saunas, even things like your recovery, we know that we generally get better outcomes with heat, and we actually get worse outcomes with cold exposure, depending on the injury, how acute the injury, how quickly you apply the cold to the injury, of course, but more longer term use cases. Generally heat is better. Always. I will always argue heat is better than cold.
Talking about the cold water, our body's goal primarily is to maintain homeostasis. And this means balance in the system. And one of the biggest things we need to maintain homeostasis with is our core temperature.
Now, if you subject yourself, just a side tangent, if you subject yourself to ambient high temperatures, meaning if it's summer and you don't put the aircon on, your body's going to reduce your appetite, so you become a smaller, leaner person, so you can maintain homeostasis, right? If you're a big, large person, if you're obese, right, it is hard to cool that body down, especially in hot temperatures. So the default mechanism is just going to be, you're not hungry anymore. We need to get some of this fat off because we need to be able to regulate our temperature. Just saying.
Your body's always trying to maintain core temperature. So if you've ever gone outside and it's very cold and you didn't have enough clothing, one of the first things your body does, you start to shiver. Shivering is like fidgeting. Your muscles are doing these micro contractions, and what they're doing is they're burning fat, they're burning carbohydrates to produce heat to maintain core temperature. So when we take a cold shower or we maybe go on a cold plunge, our body is going to get this shivering response. We can burn more calories. But cold is cooler than just burning calories from shivering. What it also does is activates a special kind of fat that we have in our bodies called brown fat. Now
don't worry about this. You really can't change brown fat much. It's more of like an essential fat, and you really can't even lose brown fat either. So it kind of just changes in volume depending on how subjected you are to the cold.
You have white fat, which might be the adipose tissue you can pinch maybe around your abdomen. And this kind of fat has many functions, but it primarily stores calories in the form of those free fatty acids. Brown fat is different. It is brown because it's packed loaded with mitochondria, these cellular powerhouses that do all this metabolism for us and produce energy. And what happens is when we get cold exposure, our body can actually produce more brown fat and make brown fat more active by increasing these brown fat enzymes that burn more calories. This is why cold can absolutely be your friend if you're looking to lose weight and increase your metabolism. A simple way to do it is to take a cold shower. So maybe you do your
and also just hate your life in the process.
Regular shower, you're on hot, and at the end of your shower for 1 to 2 minutes, you might go on cold. It's an easy way to start. Or you can get to the point of taking some ice plunges and ice baths. There's also great benefits to that. And the final bonus I wanted to say, that's not necessarily increasing your metabolic rate per se, but is really good for your metabolic health, is to start taking walks after you eat a big meal.
I actually agree with this. This is actually good information. And we know that you can reduce your insulin response and blood sugar response to a meal by going just by a quick 10-minute walk after a meal. And it also boosts your energy expenditure over the course of the day. So when you eat, go for a short walk if you have the ability to. If you don't, it's always about total steps at the end of the day.
What the research shows is after we eat a meal, let's say it does contain some carbohydrates, our blood sugar levels start to rise. And when we actually walk after a meal, what happens is our body can actually take that blood sugar and take that normal spike that we experience and actually shuttle some of that sugar into our muscles, into our legs as we're walking. And this helps stabilize your blood sugar, improves digestion, improves circulation, and smooths out that blood sugar and insulin response. So although that's not classically increasing your metabolism like caffeine per se, it is improving your metabolic health, which I think is a really good thing. Overall, these are great strategies, great little tidbits, and I do hope that you take 1 or 2 of these things and you start applying it into your life. But the bigger picture here is you need to develop a lifestyle, a daily rhythm every single day where you're getting these things into your body, right? You're getting the right things in the morning with the good nutrition. You're getting enough sleep. You're having enough water. You're doing things like the cold exposure. You need to develop the rhythms and the habits. Otherwise,
everything but the cold exposure.
Otherwise, this stuff is just information. And let's face it, information without action does jack shit for your health. If you want help with this stuff though, I recommend you check the links below. You scroll below in the description, you look at the comments below, you can join our Fit Father and Fit Mother programs. We're gonna help you dial in a simple, sustainable, and powerful routine with your health and fitness, with your nutrition, your sleep, your mindset, your exercise, and all these other things like drinking the green tea that can help improve your health and your metabolism. Hope you found this valuable, my friend. If you enjoyed this stuff, make sure you subscribe to our Fit Father and Fit.
So there you have it, guys. There's my science, evidence-based backed opinion on another creator's content. Again, I have no issues with the content creator himself. It's just you do want to be screening for the people who you listen to. As always, I try to stay up to date with the current evidence available, use my own subjective opinion based on that evidence as well. I am always biased to my own opinion too. I don't doubt that whatsoever. But again, you just have to be careful about when people throw around numbers like 15% increase in metabolism, etc. Cold plunges will increase your metabolism, where we do want long-term sustainable changes. I could not think of anything worse than jumping into a cold shower. And if doing the thing makes you hate your fitness journey, aside from the fact that you're probably going to want to track your calories, get your steps up, do some weight training, get some sleep, outside of that, and protein, outside of that, if something makes you hate your program so much that you just think about giving up, just stop the thing, okay? I'll even get to the point, as much as I really encourage people to weight train, I'll even get to the point if someone just says to me, Shannon, I just don't want to weight train. Cool. Go and just do something that you like that is active. Play soccer, lacrosse, go for a walk around your shopping center 3 times a week. I don't care. Just get active, stick to your calories. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comments below. If you have any videos you'd like me to have a look at, pop them in the comments below. If you feel like you need help with this, I do this for a living. I work online with people all around the world, and I guarantee your results or your money back if you follow my program to the T. It's a win-win, and the only thing you're going to lose is fat, I promise. And that is all, guys. See you in the next video.